These are the cause and effects of World War II. And where we left off, unfortunately, with World War I was the very thing that ends up leading us to another war that's even bloodier than the first. We've got the Treaty of Versailles, and many would argue, well, it says peace in the name. Was it really a peace treaty? So the Weimar government that's weak in Germany agrees to these terms, and they are tired of war. It punishes Germany as the aggressor of World War I. It takes valuable land. It makes Germany reduce its military. They're basically a police state now. They make Germany pay for all these war reparations, billions of German marks, and it makes them sign the war guilt clause, making them the blame, taking them the brunt of the guilt for World War I. They weren't even the reason that World War I started. And here enter our Weimar Republic. They're the ones that signed the treaty. You can imagine the resentment of German citizens. It's set up as a socialist government with some democratic privileges, such as some people can own private property and vote. But it's kind of a half and half, quasi-socialist, communist, and democratic. They do have some civil liberties and freedoms. But what they do is, in order to pay those war reparations, they print more money. Bad idea. Because it takes stacks and stacks and stacks of German marks. They've just devalued their currency. So what normally would be a small amount of money now takes a stack of money in order to pay for anything. So the currency's devalued. Now Germany is now blaming not only the Treaty of Versailles, this bad decision and weak government. They feel like they were stabbed in the back. The founders were socialists. They were liberals. They profiteered from ending the war, and they're going to be blamed for Germany's loss and the situation that they're in. And then unfortunately for Germany, and really the world, is we've got the worldwide depression. Because of this, on top of the Treaty of Versailles, they've not only got the Great Depression that's extended into Germany, they've got all of these war reparations here, and there is no way that Germany is going to be able to pay. So Germany has got upwards of just under 50% unemployment. 50%. That means long lines, food shortages. Germany's got some issues. People are very, very unhappy. And this leads to the rise of Hitler. Hitler capitalizes on this. He's upset. He uses people's anger, their discontent with the government, and he is able to win the majority of seats in Parliament. He is appointed by Hindenburg in a democratic process. Hindenburg beats him out for president, but Hindenburg then decides, because he's won the majority of Parliament, he names him chancellor. Bad idea. Again, he's rising power. He's championing the citizens. You see how he's reaching out. He's charismatic. He's using their discontent, their anger in the time period that they're in. He's not having to make a big stretch here to rise to power. And unfortunately, in 1934, Hindenburg dies. Hitler makes himself Führer, which is dictator of Germany. Even before he rises as dictator, he starts increasing, tripling Germany's military, which is a violation of the treaty. All rival parties are banned. Communists and socialists are particularly targeted based on the fact that that was a big part of the weak government that signed the treaty. Civil rights and freedoms are taken away from targeted groups. Propaganda is used by Joseph Goebbels to control the media. They control all of the communication that's going on in Germany. And so people are hearing one thing, they're seeing Hitler make a turnaround, he's increasing military spending, giving jobs. Interestingly enough, the Holocaust and the first concentration camp is constructed in 1933 when he is appointed as chancellor. He's not dictator yet, but first group that's targeted is not Jews or gypsies, it's political opponents. Anybody that disagrees is put in the concentration camp. People with disabilities, severe disease are targeted along with them. And then Hitler turns his view to what Germany should look like and starts targeting Jews, gypsies. Gypsies are Roma and Sinti, which are basically Eastern European, Romania, ethnic groups that he doesn't feel like live up to the German ideal. Hitler then also, once he starts that process, he starts what he considers peaceful annexations. We need more living space. We need more land for our people to grow our empire. And he starts taking over Austria. Austria because he is Austrian, and that's the first country that's annexed. And then he looks to Czechoslovakia, and he starts annexing areas of Czechoslovakia. And in the Munich Agreement, Great Britain and France don't want another war. They've just gotten out of it. They've spent $60 million. They've lost 2 million people, probably each. They do not want another war. So what happens is appeasement. The Munich Agreement is agreed upon. They say, Hitler, don't do this again. You can take the land that you've already taken, but agree to not do this again. And Hitler looks at Great Britain, and France is weak, and he continues on his march. And he conquers and takes more of Czechoslovakia. And then on August 23rd, 1939, over here is Russia. They start to become nervous. They see what's going on with Germany. And they see that France and Great Britain are being awfully weak, and they become very nervous about what's going on. Stalin needs time, who is the leader of the Soviet Union, needs some time to build up his army. So he makes what is called the Non-Aggression Pact with the Soviet Union in 1939. This is prior to World War II, but just before. And Germany, this is a win for Germany because Germany now doesn't have to fight a two-front war. They've got an agreement over here. There's nobody in their way. They can take whatever they want. And if for some reason there would be a war, it would be only on the Western Front because they've made a peace agreement with the Soviet Union. Remember, in World War I, they were fighting on the Eastern, the Western, and kind of in the South. This was what wore them out supply-wise and wore them down. So this is what Hitler wants to avoid. So it's really a win for both of them. But unfortunately for the world, Hitler has other plans, and in 1939 he invades Poland. And with that, no longer does the Munich Agreement stand because Hitler has violated that, wadded that up, tore it up into little pieces and thrown it away. And Germany has now going to take another area, which they agreed not to. So Great Britain and France declare war. And from 1939 to 1945, we have World War II. And here are the allies. We've got Germany with the Axis powers, Italy with Mussolini. We've got Hirohito with Japan. All three of these are dictators. All three of them have taken land that has not been theirs. And then on the Allied side, you have Great Britain, France, China, because Japan has been taking areas of China which has not been theirs. So China joins in the Allied powers. The Soviet Union ends up joining the Allied powers when, in 1941, Hitler has broken the Non-Aggression Pact and invades the Soviet Union. This is going to break that pact between the two of them, and the Soviet Union joins the Allied powers in 1941, as does the United States. So we know why the Soviet Union, Hitler double-crossed him, stabbed him in the back. That would be Stalin. And the United States gets involved in 1941 because Japan is attacked and Pearl Harbor due to an embargo that was placed on Japan. Japan does a sneak attack on December 7th, 1941, and the United States enters World War II due to this event. Well, it's a long war. Germany has suffered great losses when it broke the non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. They weren't anticipating those long winters. But finally, and World War II is going to end in 1945. Remember, it started in 1939, but it's going to end in 1945 with the atomic bomb being dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. Japan has dug in. They've dug into the mountain ranges. They are not giving up. America has to make a very difficult decision. Whether or not it was a right decision or not is up for debate. But they dropped 2 atomic nuclear bombs in both of these cities, and the Allies are going to end up winning World War II. And then, finally, the Marshall Plan. So the Marshall Plan is a direct result of Germany and the weakness that it was left in. And so the Marshall Plan is going to be giving aid, medical aid, supplies to all of those European countries in need. Basically it's a European Recovery Act developed by Marshall. And the United States is going to help those countries who need aid to help them so that they no longer are going to be weak and be able to be overcome by a dictator, because leaving a country weak and helpless only leaves the door open for a ruthless dictator. So the Marshall Plan is going to be designed to kind of avoid that. This is going to kind of wrap up where we are with World War II. Obviously, right on the heels is going to come our Cold War. But right now, c'est la vie.